Mark chapter 9, verse 14 through 29. And when Jesus came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude around them, and the scribes questioning with them. And straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed, and running to him, saluted him. And he asked the scribes, "What question you with them?" And one of the multitude answered and said, "Master, I have brought unto you my son, who has a dumb spirit. And wherever he takes him, he tears him, and he foams and gnashes with his teeth, and pines away. And I spake to your disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not." And he answered him and said, "O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me." And they brought him unto him. And when he saw him, straightway the spirit tare him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed, foaming. And he asked his father, Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long is it ago since this came unto him?" And he said, "Of a child. And oftentimes it has cast him into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." And Jesus said to him, "If you can believe, all things are possible to him that believes." And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, "Lord, I believe. Please help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying to him, "You dumb and deaf spirit, I charge you, come out of him, and enter no more into him." And the spirit cried and tore him sorely, and came out of him, and he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand, and lifted him up, and he arose. And when Jesus was coming to the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why could not we cast him out?" And he said unto them, "This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting." I have several observations from this particular story. One, I want you to take notice of the disturbing, debating scribes. When Jesus came onto the scene, the scribes, those who copied the scriptures in that day, were questioning the disciples. It doesn't say what they were talking to the disciples about, but they were questioning the disciples. Maybe they were asking why the disciples were inadequate. Maybe they were asking, well, why can't you do what your master can do? Who knows? But the scribes were not contributing to the healing of this boy. The scribes, who were religious leaders, supposedly more knowledgeable of the things of God than anybody else in their day, they were doing nothing to help this man or his boy. So we have the disturbing, debating scribes. And then number two, we have the doubting generation. Jesus addresses the father. He says to the father, "O faithless generation." The father did reveal a lack of faith later on. He said, "If you can do anything, have compassion on us." He did say, "Lord, I believe, please help my unbelief." But was Jesus ultimately addressing the father? Or was he addressing the scribes, the disciples, and perhaps us? Who is this doubting generation? The Bible says, "Let not any man who doubts think that he will receive anything from the Lord." Number three, we see the desperate father. He could find no one who was able to help. And, as I've already pointed out, he knew that his faith was weak. He was truly in a desperate situation. And as we've already learned in our series on miracles, desperation is a great ingredient that brings us to a place where God can help us. Number 4, we see the demon-possessed boy. He was a severe danger and plague to himself. I mean, listen to some of these things. He grinds his teeth. He won't eat. He jumps into the fire. He jumps into the water and tries to drown himself. He wallows around on the ground. He foams out of his mouth. He has these physical injuries that are inexplicable. The demon-possessed boy had been this way his entire life. He was in a desperate circumstance. Then number 5, we have the disappointed disciples. They had been given the authority and power to do what needed to be done. In fact, they had cast out demons before. They had succeeded previously. But this was not an ordinary problem. And so they were disappointed. After it was all over, they said, "Why couldn't we do this? What was the problem?" And then lastly, we have divine deliverance. Jesus was a man of prayer and fasting. He was ready for the Father to work through him, and he did. In fact, as you read the story, it seems that he made his decision what to do and when to do it in a moment as he saw the crowds running in, gathering quickly. And he didn't apparently want to give the foul spirit any platform to do any more damage. And so he cast the foul spirit out. And his deliverance was a permanent deliverance. He didn't just say, "Leave this boy." He said, "Leave and don't ever come back." Jesus did do just exactly what this man prayed for in his second address to Jesus when he said, "Have compassion on us." Aren't you thankful that God had compassion on you and reached down and set you free and provided deliverance for you? Here's the question. Are you and I guilty of not living a life that is committed enough for God to use us to provide deliverance for others? This was the problem with the disciples. They were apparently not praying and fasting sufficiently for God to bless them with the power to do what needed to be done. Let's live committed lives, offering ourselves with absolute commitment and complete sacrifice to God, so that when God calls upon us through the circumstances of life to reach out and help someone else, we will be able to do so.